Today we have two presenters. Myself, I'm Hillary Landrum with the Idaho State Tax Commission, and so I'm going to be talking about as much tax stuff as I can. And then we have Irene Gonzalez with the Small Business Administration, who is also going to give you some tips on what you need to know before you go into different business styles. And so she's got a whole bunch of stuff and some great information. So I'm going to begin. This is Tax and Business Prep Beauty and Service Professionals. So even if you're not just beauty, we are going to talk about a lot of things that deal with different service professions. So hopefully you'll get some good information here. We're going to talk about all sorts of stuff with Idaho state taxes, because that's where I'm working, is the Idaho State Tax Commission. I will touch on a few things that deal with the IRS, so there will be some things that I'll go over that is important information for you to know, but any kind of follow-up questions really go to the IRS on those ones. So we'll talk about that. Before we get too far, I want to talk about the different types of classification that you could have in beauty and service, okay? So you could be an employee, and I have a bunch of slides on all of these. You could be an independent contractor or like your own small business. And those are very similar. We're going to talk about what it means for each of those and how they are similar and how they are different. And a lot of people fall into that category, that independent contractor or small business category. And so that's really an important thing to know. And then we're also going to talk about what it looks like to be a salon or a large business owner. And so that way, you know, even if you're not ready for that just yet, you'll have an idea of what that may look like. So I want to make sure that we understand all of these. We understand all these different items before we get too far into it. So first things first, what does it look like to be an employee? Okay, so if you're an employee, you're usually given a work schedule. So you're told what your hours of work are. You'll be provided tools and equipment. Just because you're provided them usually doesn't mean that you can't use your own. That just depends on your work. The employment taxes are withheld from your paycheck. So what that means, that's the FICA, so the Social Security and Medicare, and those, for any employee, if you are an employee, they are withheld from your paycheck, okay? And that's going to be important because that's going to come up in the next part that we talk about. You'll be issued a W-2 at the end of the year, and so that's how you'll file your taxes will be yearly. This is more low personal risk, so if you're an employee, then you're not putting your, you're pretty set in what you might get paid and everything, and you understand all of that. So that might be where people work for a franchise or some salons, that might be how you are classified, okay? So that would be one thing. Now the other one is an independent contractor or a small business. Okay, and so with both of these, you choose your own hours, which also depend on the hours of the salon. So you can choose what hours you will be working, but it also relates to the hours that the salon is open. So there's something. You'll provide your own equipment, so whatever you need to be able to cut hair or do nails or makeup or anything, you'll be providing that. You'll get to claim business deductions as an independent contractor or small business, and we're going to talk about where that goes later on. You'll enter into an agreement or a contract, so that's the independent contractor, with a business that must be fulfilled. So if you're looking at this, you want to look at the contract very carefully. Okay, so people sometimes get really excited about things and they enter into a contract without really knowing everything. So if you're looking at getting hired as an independent contractor or you're going to rent a chair at a salon, pay close attention to the contract that you're going to sign, because you want to make sure that you understand what you have to do and what they're going to provide, okay? You may need to have your own insurance. So a lot of the times the independent contractors and small businesses, they have to provide their own insurance, and so that gets a little costly. So it's something you want to think about. With the contract, you want to pay special attention to how client payments are being collected, whether you have to collect them or the business collects them, and that's going to come in on our next slide. It's going to depend on how your taxes go a little bit. You want to look for the length of the contract. Is this a full year, 2 years, 6 months? How long is this contract, and how often does it get reevaluated? See if there's penalties for ending the contract early. So if you're looking at the contract and see if there's any penalty, if it's 6 months and you only do 3, find out what those penalties are, because you want to make sure that you understand that ahead of time. And you want to make sure, if you want to see if you're responsible for your marketing and you're setting up appointments and stuff like that, because that's going to make a big difference for you in the long run, okay? Now there's some more for this. For independent contractors or small businesses, you will be responsible for self-employment tax and income tax. So what does that mean? Self-employment tax, that's the FICA, okay? The Social Security and Medicare. It is mandatory. It is from the IRS, so it's definitely something you want to make sure you not get in trouble with. It is 15.3% of your earnings, okay? And so as an independent contractor or a small business, your employer, the person you enter the contract with, generally does not withhold any of that. Usually what happens is you have to pay attention to that money amount and make sure to set it aside for payments. So IRS usually has quarterly payments for self-employment and income tax. The state, you'll have state income tax as well, but the state does not have the quarterly mandatory payments. So, but those are two things that you'll have to be aware of. 15.3% for the self-employment taxes, and then whatever your income tax would be, and that's on a different scale. So you'd have to look that up. Okay. You'll be issued a Form 1099. Okay. So if the business is collecting payments from customers, then they will issue you a Form 1099, and that's how you get paid. Okay. That shows that's your record for payment. Okay. And it usually, like I said, it usually doesn't have the withholdings. Pay attention to the contract, because sometimes it does. Very few times, okay? You'll be responsible for your bookkeeping, okay? And if you're collecting your own payments, then they're not going to give you a 1099. You are going to be collecting them, so a lot of people will use different things like Square to collect those payments, okay? So that's a big thing to pay attention to when your contract is. Do you need to set that up and take your own payments, or is the business collecting the payments and issuing you a 1099? And that could be like where you get commission, or however they set up, where there might be a percentage of your earnings that goes to the salon for payment, or it might be a flat fee for the payment of the rental of the chair. There is some more personal risk with this. So a lot of times, you know, this is a little bit scarier for people, because it is up to you a lot of the times to get your own clients. So it's not a bad thing. It's just something that you want to make sure you know about. Questions so far? because I know this is a lot of information. All right, just pop those questions into the chat pod as you come across them. So the last thing that I want to make sure, the last classification is if you own your own salon or large business. And I say or large business because, like I said, we're trying to get this to all sorts of different people. So for owning a salon, you may have employees, and if you do, you would need a withholding account. Or you may hire contractors. So you may be the one doing the hiring, okay, and drawing up the contract and everything. So that's something to think about. You'll be responsible for premise expenses, so insurance, maintenance, utilities, maybe a franchise fee if you're running a franchise. You may need a seller's permit, and we're going to talk about a seller's permit a bit, so that way you'll understand what it is and if you would need it or not. You'll be responsible for the bookkeeping. So a lot of salons, they have somebody who helps with their books to make sure that everything is in order, because it's quite an undertaking. And with that, you may need to issue W-2s or 1099s, depending on if you hire employees or if you get personal contractors or independent contractors. This is a high personal risk, but with risk sometimes comes reward, so there can be some really good benefits to owning your own salon. Now, I like to put this up here, and there's a lot of stuff going on this table, but what this is from the IRS. This tells you the difference between an employee and an independent contractor, because those two things get very tricky. Some people want to only have independent contractors, some people only want to have employees, and the relationship that the owner of the business has with the individual determines whether they are an employee or an independent contractor. And so these are kind of some good options so that you can see the differences. And pay attention because, like I said, there's good things and bad things from both, and you just want to make sure that you're comfortable with your decision, okay? And so I'm not going to go over every single one of these. Like I said, you have all the slides with the link, and you can always email me if you don't have the PDF, okay? So this is really good to see if you are working somewhere and you're an independent contractor and they're treating you like an employee, then you have the right to say that, because as an independent contractor, they're not responsible for part of the employment taxes, so the self-employment taxes that you would, so that FICA. So just be careful and just know your rights, okay? All right. So I'm going to go over some stuff mostly for the people who are looking at being independent contractors or small businesses or possibly even a salon. But if you're an employee now and you're like, I don't know, maybe I want to do that, this is all great information to have ahead of time. So, hang around, take some notes, ask some questions, and we'll keep going, okay? So if you're starting your business, there's a few things to note. You want to name your business. Even if you're doing like a small business, it's probably a good idea to get an EIN. And an EIN stands for an employer identification number. So if you are going to be an employer, you have to have one. If you aren't going to be an employer, you don't have to have one. But let me tell you this, it is free to get an EIN if you go to irs.gov. So it's kind of nice because the EIN almost works as a social security number for your business. So when you're filling out forms, a lot of them for businesses will say either your social security number or your EIN. Okay, so again, EIN, good. To register your business, most people with the small businesses will register as a sole proprietor, and that is the cheaper of the options out there, but there's all sorts of different options. And if you go to that website, business.idaho.gov/register-a-business/ really long, there's all sorts of steps for starting your business, okay? And it'll tell you where to go to register. It's with the Secretary of State. And it does cost to register your business, but if you register as a sole proprietor, I believe it's $25. So it's not too terrible. You may apply for permits, and I'm going to talk about probably the most common permit today, which is the seller's permit. If you are going to be an employer, then I recommend my small business webinar that goes over all the stuff that you need to know for being an employer, because there's some more stuff you need to know. It's good to get a URL and a business bank account. That business bank account is going to help you a lot with your record keeping. So I highly recommend that, especially if you're collecting your own payments. But even with a 1099, it's a good idea. Selling products. So we're going to go over this, and I might go a little quick because I have a feeling that not everybody's going to sell products. So selling products, usually it's the salon is selling the products, and they're responsible for having the seller's permit. But you as a business, you might have your own products that you use and that you could offer to sell them to your clients. If you are doing that, then you need a seller's permit. So if you are selling tangible personal property, you must collect the sales tax unless there's an exemption. I'm going to talk about the exemptions in a moment. So the trick with this is that some salons they're the ones selling it. You're just kind of like the person at the register. And then sometimes you might be selling it at your station. So if you're selling it at your station, then you're the one who needs a seller's permit. If it's the salon, then the salon needs a seller's permit. And I think PJ will chime in if I say that incorrect. All right. So the other thing is with the internet, we ship things all over. So when you are shipping goods, let me start again. Where the goods exchange hands is where you have to think about for sales tax. If the goods exchange hands in Idaho, then you collect the Idaho sales tax. So if you ship it or somebody comes in and buys it, not if you ship it, sorry. If somebody comes in and buys it, or if somebody decides to take care of the shipping themselves, then the transaction takes place in Idaho. If you ship the goods to another state, the end user gets the item in another state, and you do not collect the Idaho sales tax. You do have to pay attention to the other states because the other states have their sales tax laws and their thresholds. So if you do that, okay. So where do you get a seller's permit? So there's a form called the IBR, which is the Idaho Business Registration Form, and you will find it at tax.idaho.gov. So that's a good website to check out because I've got all sorts of fun stuff on there. So if you want a business permit or if you want a seller's permit, you go to Online Services, hover over it, hit Apply for a Business Permit. It'll take you in and you'll scroll down and you'll see under To Apply, there's the Idaho Business Registration Application. So you click on that and it takes you to the system. Now, this form, it's pretty big. It's fairly intimidating, in all honesty. And it's for a seller's permit, it's for a withholding account, and it's for all sorts of stuff. So it's a long form. If you don't need a seller's permit because you're just providing services and you're not hiring employees, this is not necessarily what you need. So it's always good to kind of read through it. But this one form is sent to the Idaho Department of Labor, the Idaho Industrial Commission, and then also the Idaho State Tax Commission. So this is a good form to know about. And if you ever get stuck, if you're doing this or if you have questions, my last slide, I have our customer service phone number, and they are amazing. So you can call in and ask anything you want, and you may think it's a ridiculous question, but don't, because we get all sorts of questions all day long, and it's better to know ahead of time and do everything right than to question yourself and worry. So to get to this, you'll go down and click on the I'm ready to register my business. It's going to give you another page that tells you all the different forms you may need. And again, don't get too overwhelmed. It's a little bit much, but you'll click on the I have the required information, and then you'll get to the registration system. Now, like I said, if you're going through the sidebar and you get stuck, call us, okay? We're here to help. I have the numbers on my last slide. Also know that when you create this new account, it's actually a new application. If you get stuck and you're like, oh, I don't have that information, you can save your progress and come back. So that's a good thing to note, because people get started on this and get a little freaked out. So once you get your seller's permit, you'll get this Form 850, and it will tell you how often you have to file this return with the state for your sales. So this particular one is monthly because it starts from the beginning of September to the end of September. And it was always going to be due on the 21st if it's monthly, so the 21st of the next month. And you'll fill all these out, and if you, like I said, if you get stuck filling these out, call us. That's why we have a phone number. They're really cool people that answer the phones, okay? So you'll fill this is what you'll end up doing each month or each quarter, depending on your IBR. So now I'm going to talk about something that's people are probably wondering about. Sales and use tax, okay? Now, sales tax, most of us know about. Most of us know that when you go and buy something, they put on the 6% tax, and you pay it, and it goes to the state, okay? Use tax is a little bit different. And use tax can be a little tricky, so let me give you a couple of examples. Well, let me tell you what it is. Use tax is owed by the purchaser on goods used or stored in Idaho when Idaho sales tax has not been properly paid. So let's think of an example of that. So say you purchase something online. You find some really good clippers online. I don't know, I'm just making up stuff. So you find a good deal with that. You're going to want to check your receipt to see if you have had sales tax applied. If you haven't, if the seller did not apply sales tax, then you owe use tax. And it's the same percentage, it's not a difference. But if they did collect sales tax, you don't owe use tax. So it's like one or the other, not both, okay? Now, if you are reselling items, so if you have the seller's permit and you're reselling maybe lotions or shampoos or mousse or whatever, gel, then you can actually buy items tax exempt and then apply the sales tax to the end user. Now, don't get carried away because it doesn't work the other way, okay? If you're selling products in a salon and you're the one with the seller's permit, you have to collect that sales tax. But it is nice to know how to purchase items tax exempt. Now, it's important to know that the items that you purchase tax exempt are then going to be taxed in the end for the end user. This is not something that you are going to purchase for your inventory to use. So you're not going to go and purchase something tax exempt and then use it. So like, for example, shampoo and conditioner. You're not going to, if those are going to be used to shampoo and condition people's hair, you're not going to buy those tax exempt because you're going to use them for your business. So that, hopefully that kind of helps that. Any questions so far? And I see a few people came in late. Just so you know, I'm going to be sending out the recording of this. So anything that you missed, you'll get in the recording probably tomorrow or Wednesday. So if you do have a seller's permit and you are reselling items, then you're going to want the ST-101 form. And this is for you to purchase items tax exempt. But remember, any item that you purchase tax exempt, you're going to be collecting taxes for from the end user. Okay? So the ST-101 form can be found on tax.idaho.gov, and you just click forms. It's one of the first forms there. Okay? This is only the top of the form. It's a full-page form with 5 sections. You only have to fill out one section. So what you'll do is you'll fill out your name, your business, all that fun stuff. I would leave the seller's name blank until you get to whatever vendor you're going to be purchasing from. And then you're going to fill out one of the different 5 sections below. Most businesses are going to be filling out section 1. You'll list the primary nature of your business, the products you sell, rent, or lease, and then you'll put your seller's permit number. Once you have that in, at the bottom you will add either your driver's license number or your EIN, so that's why the EIN is kind of good to have, and sign it. And what happens is when you take this to a vendor, you will give them the form. They will keep the copy. You might want to ask them how they look up people, so that way when you come back in to make another purchase, that they have the form on file, and then you know how to look yourself up. So it might be like a phone number or a name or an email. So that is, if you qualify to purchase exempt, that's how you do it. Or yeah. Receipts. So most of you will probably not have sales tax on your receipt if you are only providing services. So if you're only providing service, service is not taxed. Sales tax is on a separate line, so if you are selling products, you will need the sales tax on there. You're not allowed to use tax included or advertise that you'll pay the taxes, so it's kind of a good idea to know those things and stay away. Reporting. I know I'm going fast, so you guys got to have a question, let me know. Sales tax is due when the reporting period takes place. So if you sell an item, you need to collect sales tax right then. That's what that is. If you do end up with a seller's permit or withholding permit or any kind of anything really, you can get a TAP account. TAP is Taxpayer Access Point. It is on tax.idaho.gov, and you can make payments on TAP. So if you're going to be using TAP, make sure you sign up for it at least a week before you need it, because it takes a week, at least a week, for the authorization code to get mailed out. So we send out a mailed out copy, okay? I know, keeps going. Record keeping, so make sure you spend time to keep your records in order, okay? So whether you have a seller's permit or not, so if you're doing your small business, you know, or even if you're getting that Form 1099, it's good to keep everything in order. You can keep your records digital, or you can keep them paper, so electronic or paper. Just make sure you back them up, because there's nothing worse than everything being on a hard drive and it crashes. But keep them for at least 4 years. And the reason is if you happen to be audited. So if you're audited and you have all those paperwork in order, all your permits and everything, then we'll probably go back about 3 years. If you're audited and your records are not in order, you don't have those permits in order, you might go back 7 years. So it's good to schedule some time periodically. I mean, in reality, it'd be good every week to take a little bit of time to keep up with those record keeping. And I know Irene will talk about this a little bit more, but it does help, okay? Good records are what keeps you from getting into trouble in an audit. So just kind of a heads up. All right. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about income tax. So the next stuff, I've kind of touched on it a little bit, but I want to go over it again. And this is information from the IRS, okay? So this is not necessarily stuff that has to deal with state taxes, but they are really important to know, because a lot of people don't know about the self-employment tax and everything until they have to pay it and realize that they didn't make as much money as they thought they did, okay? So again, self-employment tax, if you are self-employed, if you get that 1099, so you're an independent contractor, your tax liability is greater than when you earn wages as an employee. So that's a lot of the reason why you see, you know, the people that are looking for independent contractors will pay more to the independent contractors than to the employees. Because as an independent contractor, you are the one responsible for all 15.3% of the payroll tax. And if you're an employee, then it gets split. And that's any employee. Doesn't matter if it's in the service industry or not. And so that's why you'll see a difference in the income that you could possibly make. Now, these payroll taxes are not the same as the federal income tax or the state income tax, okay? So you'll want to know that 15.3 for the FICA, which is the Medicare and the Social Security, and then whatever your earnings are beyond that, you have a scale for your income taxes, okay? So just be aware of that when you see any advertisements or you go to become an independent contractor. Deductible business expenses. So this is where it's kind of nice, okay? The IRS says that you can deduct your business expenses if, and there's a big if. And the middle bullet there is the most important. Your business expenses must be ordinary and necessary, okay? And that's usually the two words that, you know, if anybody ever asks the IRS, well, does this count as a business expense? They're going to say, is it ordinary and necessary? And if it's not ordinary and necessary, it's not going to count as a business expense. So those two words, totally ask yourself, is it ordinary and necessary? Then yes, it's a business expense. Now, many sole proprietors, so if you're registered with the as a sole proprietor, are going to complete the Form 1040 Schedule C. Now, I'm not going to say all, because it's not all sole proprietors. It is many, and there are instructions with this Form 1040 Schedule C to help know if it is for you or if it is not. Okay? Now, on the Federal Form 1040 Schedule C, in Part 2, which is what I have on the screen there, will be the expenses. So you can see the examples of the different types of expenses that you are allowed to write, okay? So when you write these, what this means is it takes your earnings and it deducts these so that you have less earnings pretty much because you've already spent some money before you earned it or sometimes after. And so your amount that you're taxed on will go down. So you owe less taxes. That's what it does with the expenses, okay? And so it's good to see what you can have there, and it's good to note that. And then go and download one of these on irs.gov. Remember, have the whole thing, because if you just have Schedule C or Form 1040, there's a lot of them. You want to have the whole thing. Federal Form 1040 Schedule C. Okay. Record keeping, and I know I've already said record keeping, but please take the time. I know it's not the most fun thing. It's not what anybody wants to necessarily be doing, but it does help keep you in good standing. And you want to make sure that you're taking the time to keep those records. Now I just have a few things to plug because at the Idaho State Tax Commission we do have some social media and a newsletter. So you can follow us on Facebook, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and also now on YouTube. And we have weekly videos going up on YouTube, and this webinar will be going on YouTube as well. You can subscribe to our newsletter, tax.idaho.gov/getnews. That comes out basically when something changes. When there's something important to tell you, you'll get an email. If you don't get an email for a while, that means nothing's changing. Okay? And my last slide, the important one, please write down those phone numbers, because even if you don't think you need it right this moment, you may need it in the future. So if you get stuck on anything or just have some questions and are not sure who to go to, call us. So you can call our Boise number, 208-334-660. If you like a toll-free number for whatever reason, you can call that one too, 800-972-7660. We have our website, tax.idaho.gov. You can email us, taxrep@tax.idaho.gov. So if you have some questions that maybe are shorter or something, or you want to send an email because you don't have time to wait on the phone, you can send us an email. And we have a fax machine because apparently they still exist. So you can fax us if you'd like. Now, don't go anywhere because we do have a second speaker coming up.
Alrighty, so you heard some great information from the Tax Commission, which is so important. You want to keep your bookkeeping in check. And so now I am going to share information about keeping your business up and running and having a good reputation and also a good customer service, because the service industry is inundated with a lot of options. And you want to make sure that you stand out from the crowd and you keep your clients. And then you also have good referrals too. So hopefully you can gain a few little nuggets here. All right, so I talk a lot about business planning because, sure, you can easily go to school, you can get your certificate, you can get all your skills and training, but running a business is a lot more challenging. So you want to make sure that you've got your ducks in a row, you've got a plan moving forward. It could be everything from where are you going to have this business, like what Hillary mentioned. Is it going to be on site? Are you going to have your own independent leased location? Are you going to be on commission? Are you going to go into partnership with someone? And then what are you going to do for financing? How much is it going to cost you each month to run your business? So lots of questions that you want to make sure get put on paper and thought through before you just run out the door, because you definitely want to stay in business, but you also want to make sure that you have the tools in place. And so these first couple slides just talk about really understanding who's your target market. Now within the industry, you've got all kinds of age groups, you've got males and females, you have different styles, and so who are you really targeting? And if it is everybody, how are you going to connect with each of them individually so you can have certain age groups, or maybe it's certain generations, or it's even hairstyles that you're connected with. So it's the who are you and how are you connecting? So you are creating a brand for yourself. And then that is going to distinguish how are you different? What is the value that you're bringing? So for instance, I've had my same hairdresser, I think we determined at least almost, I think it's maybe 12 years. And I followed her from Boise, then she moved to Nampa, and then she moved to different locations. But we connect. We understand each other. And that's so important when it comes to a service provider. And also, just letting folks know where you're at. What's your flexibility? Is it something that you are mobile, or have you accommodated hours to meet people's schedules, even though it is based on your flexibility, but you also want to accommodate customers. And so enforce these business goals to your customers, to even your suppliers and your vendors, because that could always lead to an opportunity, and to the community. Let everyone know what you're doing. And so part of this business planning is just also having short-term, long-term goals. So short-term are over the next 12 months. What are your plans? Do you want to put a social media site together? Do you have some Instagram pictures that you have on some different hairstyles that you're showcasing? And then also financially. So plan over the next 12 months. And then your long-term plan is the next 3 and 5 years. Look at them individually like that. And then how are you going to achieve those long and short-term goals? And then part of every business is building relationships. So those relationships are collaborations, and it could be with nonprofits. Every year we always hear, I think it's November, that they do share the day, and maybe you volunteer your time and you work with a nonprofit, and maybe you offer free haircuts, or maybe it's veterans, or it could be a homeless shelter, and so that's getting your name out there. And it could be that you're collaborating with the wedding industry, and so you're connecting with someone who does dresses, someone who does cakes, and you're also finding those other partners within your business community. And again, it's all about referrals. We always hear word of mouth. So how do you pass that along to your community and to other businesses and your customers? I like to always emphasize what's called a SWOT analysis, which is just understanding what your strengths are. So you definitely are good at your skill, which is your trade. But then it's also, what are your weaknesses? What are you not very good at? And it could be bookkeeping. It could be maybe the social media end of things or the marketing end of things. And that's where you need to find some help, someone to help you out, someone who can handle that portion. And maybe it's even a family member. There's also reaching out to schools. They've got internship programs. So maybe you can provide experience for someone to help you put your social media together. Take some pictures. Find some clients that you can take pictures of some before and after. We always love that. We like to see, and then I'm sure you get lots of people bringing you a picture. I want to look like this. And keep in mind that, especially a service provider, you are a resource and an educator. So you are consistently educating your clients about, it could be anything from noticing hair loss, or maybe there's a medical concern. And so being able to build that relationship, and I always joke with mine, and it's like, I always come here because she's my therapist, and she just loves to listen, and we talk, and so part of this industry is also creating that rapport and understanding what your customers' needs are. So strengths and weaknesses, always the opportunities, and that's building relationships and collaborating with other businesses so you can expand your market. And then the T is threats, which is, it could be both internal or external. Anything that could prevent your business from moving forward. And it could be maybe the salon that you're working on closes, or maybe they've got road construction. It could be maybe it's weather and you can't get to your location. And so always look at those, what if something happens, how am I going to react? Versus, oh no, and now I'm reacting and I haven't thought this through yet. So put some things into place that will help you with that. I threw in a little chart, which is understanding your customers. Customers are key. You don't have customers, you don't have a business. And so you can understand your product or your service because you are highlighting what you're able to offer. And when I think of services, it's everything from hair, we have estheticians, we have people who provide massages. And if it's the product, it's like, what is it? So you're a solution. You're a solution to what? What are your customers needing you for? What do they want you to do? And it's not just cut hair. They need a certain style. Maybe they need it to look a certain way. Maybe they just need something different. So it's understanding what are you able to provide. So that's the product or service. And so describing the features, so what does it do, and emphasize on the benefits of the service so they can have what kind of an experience. So like I go to my massage, and what am I looking for? De-stressing. Or if I'm working from home, this is what she can help me with. And so being able to communicate what those needs are, and maybe you need to extract or ask questions of your customers because they don't know what they want. They think they do, but maybe they need a different path or a different way to look at it. So you're going to have to ask some questions. And so when it comes to your customer, again, what are their needs? What are they coming for? What do they want you to solve or fix? And the fears. The fears are, well, what if something doesn't turn out right? What's going to happen? Now, if you cut too much off with a haircut, it's like, it'll grow, but maybe, well, now let's try this new hairstyle. This looks really good on your face. Or if something didn't go right, well, let's try something different next time. So give them that encouragement so that they don't feel like, oh, well, that didn't work, so I'm not going to come back. Because a lot of times, especially in the service industry, if a customer doesn't like their experience, they will do a few things. They will post a review, which we always want to see positive reviews, but they just won't come back. And we don't know why they don't come back. So you always want to stay connected with your customers and build the relationship, get feedback. And if maybe you need to do surveys, maybe you need to do some fun events to keep things engaged so that you can, I see a lot of different places have customer appreciation days. And they bring people in, they try different styles, they introduce them to some new products or something. But it's all about the customer. So find ways to connect with them and build relationships. Ask those questions. So it could be, you know, how was your day? Work? Do you have any vacations planned? Get to know them. The gal that I go to for my hair, she keeps a journal of all of her clients, and she puts in there what their names are, if they've got family, if they've got pets, makes a note of what products they used last time, and say, okay, because a lot of times we go in there like every 6 months or maybe every couple months. Or I mean, I go in every 6 weeks, so maybe it's every couple of months that you might go in. Well, that's a long time, and sometimes you forget. And it just is so great when they remember what happened last time. And it's like, wow, that is so cool, because that shows that you care. So asking questions with regards to those benefit questions, what are they trying to do? What's it going to help? How would they love? So enjoyment, what do they want to enjoy? So it's the experience. And most important is to listen. We may think we know what we want, but because you're the resource and the educator, you're going to say, well, I can't do what the picture shows, or I can't totally fix this, but we're going to try another solution, or we're going to maybe work in different steps to get there. But let them know that you care about them and you are trying to help solve their problem because you want to be that solution for them. So put these points in the forefront. You are solving a problem, or now when it comes to inconvenience, it could just be they're having, if it's a massage that they're needing, maybe they have a pain in their neck or they slipped and fell, and so maybe that's an inconvenience that they experience, is that they need a quick fix. So you're a problem solver, tell them how you can fix this. But reducing the fear is, what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't come out the way that they're looking for? So give them a new and valuable perspective. Let them know, so it's going above and beyond. Give them a better experience than they thought that they were going to be expecting. So exceed their expectations and help them enjoy the benefits. So give them examples how, like if it's a hairstyle, show them different ways that it can be done. Because we're always saying, can you do it? Because I think as soon as I get home, I'm not going to remember. Maybe you send instructions home. Maybe you say, hey, I've got some time next week. Do you want to go over this again? And most importantly, help them feel understood and valued. We're trying to explain something and we may not always have the right words, but you're the technical expert. You may need to interpret what we're trying to explain. And so try not to have someone feel like they're not explaining well, and then they don't feel like you're really listening. So try to take those extra steps. So when it comes to marketing, again, focus on the benefits. What are they going to experience? Maybe you're going to help them enjoy a new style. Maybe they're at a point in their life that they want something new and different, and you're that person to give them options to choose from. So again, you're that problem. You have a solution. They have a problem, you have a solution, or they have something to fulfill or a need to meet. You're that person. People buy based on emotions. Now, you think of different buying experiences. When it comes to certain purchases, you've got disposable income, and then you have those that are willing to spend a little bit more. And so give some different options based on what people's needs are. And again, with regards to the new customers, that goes back to the opportunities. Look for those short-term promotions, or maybe it's a long-term strategic alliance with a business that you're going to work on different projects throughout the year. Again, that could be a nonprofit, or it could be, like I said, if you took the wedding industry, maybe you work with someone who does pastries, or maybe you work with someone who does the esthetician or the spa, and you do the different bridals or the girls' day out. So something fun, because this industry, service industry, is so needed, but you have to make a connection with your customers because we have lots of options, and we do want to find someone who works well. And we're always asking friends and neighbors and families. So when it comes to research, find ways that you're going to reach your customers. There's lots of different ways, everything from, we see door hangers, we see signs, we've got different Instagram posts, we've got social media and Facebook. Try things that are free, of course, but then make sure that you're reaching the right audience and be everywhere. And you determine how big you want your business to go. And most importantly, that you're reaching the right target market. So just a few little marketing strategies is it could be everything from the pricing. It could be where you're located. If you've got a great website that you're showcasing different hairstyles, or maybe the events that you're going to be at, or maybe even who you're partnering with, or what nonprofit that you're working with. So there's some great things, but build a brand so that you're consistent and people remember who you are, or maybe where you're located, or if you're at different places, so they can follow you and stay connected with you. We always think cheaper isn't always better, and when it comes to services, you could be below industry, but you want to make sure that you're at least covering your costs to run your business. And maybe you have an introductory rate. So if a service costs $30 and you're going to charge $25, and that would just be for the month of April. And then you would go back to your regular prices the next month just to get people in the door. But then you don't want to increase your prices if you aren't covering your costs. So if down the road, because I've had services that are increased, and it could be, hey, supplies are on back order, or our suppliers upping their prices, so we're going to have to up ours by $5. So if that has to happen, let your customers know within at least 30 days before you do it so they can prepare. Otherwise, it's going to be, holy cow, when did prices go up? And that could rub them the wrong way. So you want to make sure that, give them advance notice when things go up, because we totally understand the economy and suppliers, things do have to increase, but just let us know. Should you expand your concept? So the expansion is, how many services do you need to provide in order to sustain your business? And going back to that short-term plan of 12 months, look at each month, look at your expenses. If you're familiar with the financial statements, there is a statement called the cash flow statement. It shows 12 months, and it keeps track of your expenses and your income, and it shows it at the end of each month. So you can keep track of, what are my expenses at the end of each month? How many services do I need to conduct in order to pay for my monthly expenses? And then do I have one-time expenses or multiple monthly expenses? That's going to be helpful in determining how do you expand, and do you have the means to do that? And then most importantly is, have you left a good impression? Remember, it's all about building relationships with your customers. So stay in touch with them, follow up with them, and if you want to keep that appointment, if you need to reschedule, find out, do they like certain days, do they like afternoons? Maybe they're only able to work on that Monday when you don't normally, but that's an option that you can make with your customers. You have that flexibility, but you have to follow up with them. Otherwise, if we didn't like something, then we're just going to go someplace else, and we usually don't say why. So definitely follow up with that good impression. I threw in the sample business model plan concepts, and a lot of it has to do with putting down everything that you have in your head on paper, such as making a list of who your key partners are for collaborating. Like I said, maybe it's nonprofits, maybe it's other businesses. And then also talks about cost. What are my costs going to look like? Everything from different styles, different cuts, and are you selling products? And then it'll be customers. Who are your target markets? And then also it'll talk about unique value propositions. How are you different? How do you stand out? So this is just putting everything on paper. And if you Google business model canvas, it'll show this bottom form, and then you can put in those different columns and compartments and start visualizing this for yourself. Another great resource is the Idaho help.idaho.gov. It's got two functions. it's got the Business Wizard, which will give you an electronic checklist. So if you're wondering, well, what kind of permits or licensing do I need in a particular city or maybe county, it will give you that list as well. And it'll also take you to the Secretary of State, Tax Commission, so it's kind of a one-stop shop. So Hillary's business website there is very helpful, but also check this just as a backup just to see, well, is there anything else that I've missed? The Resource Wizard is great. It gives you information on financing. It also helps if you're looking for chambers of commerce, because part of business is networking, being part of associations or trade groups so that you can make those connections. So it's a great tool. So certainly check into that. I talk through business planning because you have to determine, what do I do every day? How do I manage my business? What does it really look like? So your strategy is to provide a service or sell a product, and to what target market? What does that profile target market customer look like? So they can have what kind of experience? So they can feel good about themselves, so they can enjoy time with their family. What does it look, because that experience is what you're going to be expressing in your brand and also your marketing, and as part of that problem solving. Management team and roles. So if it's yourself, what do you do every day outside of your service? But it could be every first Monday, maybe you are doing your social media content, or you're doing Instagram pictures. Maybe every Sunday is when you're doing your scheduling for the month or for the week, or you're doing bookkeeping. Or maybe you need to order supplies, and maybe the supplier comes in every second Thursday. So then you're prepared for that when it happens. And if there's two people, same thing. What is each person doing? What are their roles and responsibilities? And then have that conversation so that you're on the same page. And I would encourage you that you have a couple different pockets and folders of your business. So the first little pocket is regulatory. When do I need to pay things? When are things due? Have a calendar of some sort where you keep track of things. Your next one is your day-to-day operations. What do I do every day? And this is your business planning. Your third one is marketing plan. And then your fourth one is a financial plan. You have to know financially, where are you at any given time. And if you don't know that, you need to set time aside to work through your financials. Articulate your customer value. So why should I choose you over another service provider? What is it? So it could be personality. It could be how it's being offered. It could be the conversation. It could be that you listen really well. What is it that you really want to focus on to make you stand out? And as I mentioned, those financial projections, that's that fourth plan, which is your financial plan. So if you do them independently, they all funnel up to your business plan. But just make sure that you take the time and work through them. So just a quick overview of your business planning checklist. And you can also get a checklist off of our SBA website. We have lots of samples and some templates for you to use there. I would also encourage you to build your support team. Even though it's just you, but you need other people to help you with your business. And that accountant or that bookkeeper is a strong supporter of your business. Yes, they do your books, and they'll do your taxes and so forth, but they should also be educating you on your business and helping you find ways to save money, and to also look for any red flags that come up and to keep you on track. You're paying them for a service, so they should also be that forefront for you as well. You may or may not need legal advice, but you certainly can reach out And I'll show you a resource where you can make those connections. There's a difference between a bank and a banker. You went to your bank in new accounts and opened up your business account. Maybe down the road you want to expand, or you want to get to a partnership with someone, and you're going to need your commercial lending department. Find out who that lender is and have a conversation. Let them know what you're planning on, what documents are they going to need. And a business consultant. Have someone who's going to help you when it comes to marketing or even social media or financial planning. And I'll show you where you can find some of those business consultants. And insurance. How much insurance do you need? What kind of insurance do you need? What kind of protection do you need for you and your customers? So check with your insurance provider that you either have your car with, could be your home, and see if they have the type of insurance that you need for your industry. And then I would also get 2 other quotes, so you have 3 quotes, and then compare apples to apples and making sure that they are providing you with enough coverage and the right policies. And then if your industry has an association, I would encourage you to subscribe to them and keep up with the industry. What is changing? How is it evolving? I talked a lot about financial projections. So if you aren't familiar with these statements, your balance sheet, income statement, I mentioned the cash flow statement. Talk to your accountant or your bookkeeper so they can help you understand, and then also your business consultant will also walk you through. You need to know what these statements mean and how is your business doing. Just because you're making sales doesn't mean you're making money. So you want to make sure that you understand what those financial statements mean. And as I mentioned earlier, encourage you to look at your finances at least weekly to make sure that you're on track to meet your end-of-month goals and be able to cover your expenses. Just a quick overview when it comes to financing. There are no grants out there to help you with your business. So you want to make sure that if you do see anything like that, bring it to our attention and we will share with you what that grant means, or if it is actually authentic and it's real, because unfortunately there's been a lot of identity theft and fraud, and you want to make sure that you're not getting caught up in that, because people are finding out that their personal information is being used to obtain business loans. So definitely keep track of that. And if you are looking at financing, it is going to take a little bit longer than you like. So just make sure you have the documentation in place so the lender has everything that they need and it fits within your parameters as far as working towards your goals and your financing projects. Just a few tips that I wanted to share with you. When it comes to goals, and everything is reaching toward either a monthly goal, quarterly goal, end of year goal. Business planning is all about change, and changing is evolving and being able to adjust to your environment and to your customer needs. So when you're setting goals, set them high enough to challenge yourself. So maybe you have 10 customers or 10 clients and you want to grow to 30 clients. Could you do that over the next 12 months? Or is that something you're going to work on for year 2 because you're just getting your business up and running? So your business planning doesn't have to be complicated. Your vision statement is, what do I want my business to look like? How do I want to stand out and be branded to people? Do that SWOT analysis. That's going to help visualize as well. Your financial planning will be helpful as your marketing plan. So look at those independently. And if you have big projects and you're getting overwhelmed, and take a step back and work. You've heard taking baby steps or taking small pieces. Yes, having your own business is overwhelming, but it's very rewarding and it's lots of fun. But being able to have a plan for planning and organizing is so important. You want to be able to manage your day-to-day operations and stay on track. And to stay in business and to keep your business vibrant and viable, you do have to stay relevant. And you have to prepare to plan and being agile and inventive. You have to consistently move. Think of basketball. You're always moving and looking for the next opportunity, looking for someone that's open. So always be prepared. And you're always measuring your productivity. Is how are you doing? Are you keeping up with your expenses? Are you interacting with your customers? Are you keeping up with the latest trends? Are you staying current? Where can you improve? And reevaluate where your strengths and weaknesses are so you can better fit that market. And set aside time. I hear it from a lot of businesses, I don't have time, I am so busy. But if you don't set aside the time, you aren't going to be able to take a look at your business at that 30,000-foot level and see what needs to happen. Because we do. We all get caught in the day-to-day, and we get busy. But that's why you take those Sundays, take maybe Mondays if you're off, and look at your plan. Look at your week. How did last week go? What worked, what didn't? What's my current week looking like? Am I on track for my projects? Do I need to reschedule anything? And then look at the following week and plan for current and the following week. And then you may or may not have heard of pivoting. We've had to do a lot of that over the past year and a half, but maybe you might need to change your business without changing your vision. So it could be repurposing assets. Maybe you might need to be mobile because people can't come to you. Maybe you need to readjust some of your safety protocols. Maybe it's the communication that you have with your customers. I've had to adjust to a lot of different communications with my service providers. But that's what's so important is the communication. Let your folks know ahead of time what's happening. Give them those expectations. Maybe you might need to adjust how you market through your social media channels. And then most importantly is accepting payment. Gosh, there's everything now from, you've got Square, you've got Venmo. What are people using? What's going to be the most convenient for them? What's going to give you the quickest response for your payments? And then understanding the technology that your business is able to provide to your customers. I'm going to cover just a little bit on customer service. That is a great part of a business that will keep your customers staying with you, or it could get them to your competitors. So customer service is about meeting the needs of the customers. Or at least when we go to a service provider, we want them to take care of something that we can't do. And so it's everything from when you greet them, when you say hello, by listening, by helping them because you're that problem solver. And then the inviting me back is, hey, can't wait to see you in 6 weeks. Or let me know if there's anything I can do in between our next visit. Make sure that they understand what you're looking for. So I'm going to leave you with six pillars of customer service. Attitude. So you may be having a bad day. So when your customer sits in your chair or they come into your office, you want to help them feel welcomed. And whatever you're experiencing, set it aside. Because right now it's that customer that you're looking at. Interest. Let them know that you are interested. You care about what they're doing, what they're saying, and you are listening. And if it's something that you don't agree with or you're thinking that they're going down the wrong path, just let them know that you heard them and say, I have a suggestion, or I understand what you're saying. Could this be another option? And then action. The action is you are hearing what they're saying, and it's like, okay, great. How about if we do this? or let's try this method. So listen and then put into action. Verbal language, body language, tone of voice. They all move together. And if it's a lot of, oh, are we done yet? Or kind of rolling the eyes, or just, if your customers are feeling like you're not invested, you're not putting them in the forefront, then they're going to say, well, that wasn't a great experience. I don't know if I want to come back to this person because they're just not connecting with me. And so think through how you interact with your customers on all these different levels. And then leaving you with, as I mentioned earlier, business consultants. So if you aren't familiar with the SBA, I invite you to check out our website, sba.gov, and then you'll find other trainings on our local site, sba.gov/ID for Idaho, and then also check out SCORE through score.org. They've got some great on-demand videos and trainings, lots of good templates to help you with your business. And we have a Women's Business Center and the Small Business Development Center. They all offer free business consulting. And I would encourage you to reach out to any and all. And even if you're starting or have been in business for a while, they can help you with financing, marketing. They can help you with your website. Lots of great resources. Alrighty, so I hope that you were able to take away a few tidbits and can help you with your business. Thank you, Hillary.
Thanks, Irene. I hope you guys all got some good stuff there. I think one of the biggest things to note is that there's a lot of information that we've given you, and it can be a little scary and overwhelming, but everybody starts somewhere, and so it's just a matter of starting and using the different resources that we give, calling us, asking questions. So don't get discouraged. We're not trying to do that here. We're just wanting to give you as much information to help you be successful.